Tonight, Ben is going to talk to us about his artistic journey and demonstrate his drawing and watercolor techniques for us. Ben creates primarily using pencil and watercolor, although he does other mediums. In 2014, he began competing in area art competitions and has had his work shown at the Hazelwood Art Fair, St. Peter's Cultural Arts Center, and various other venues in St. Charles. Ben's work has been shown in juried competitions at the Foundry Art Center and at Framations Art Gallery, and many of his original artworks are for sale up and down Main Street in St. Charles.
Yes, yes, that is correct.
So I think this is Ben's first time doing public speaking, correct? Am I right?
Yeah, so, pretty much.
So be kind, you know, this is a huge step for Ben tonight. So without further ado, I give you Ben Underwood.
Are you ready?
Yeah, all right.
All right. Hello, everybody. I am Ben Underwood. I am an artist just like many of you. I've been doing this my whole life. I was born and raised in St. Charles. Before I begin, I would like to say that I will stutter a little bit, so don't be too frustrated if I do. But otherwise, I hope you enjoy this demonstration. Okay. I was born and raised in St. Charles. Age 3, I was diagnosed with autism. I didn't really communicate well with anybody, but I had a real talent for drawing, and this is my first piece here. The puzzle piece is much more than just a puzzle piece. It is the representation of autism, and the puzzle pieces are trying to connect together with the rest of society itself. I graduated from Metropolitan School. It was a small school comprised of 68 typical learners, such as myself, atypical as in learning disabilities and all that. I went there for 7 years throughout all of my middle and high school years, and I graduated in 2008. Over the next few years, I didn't really do much of anything until one day I decided to enter an art show at Framations, and I remember it well.
So do I.
It was called A Living Message. It took place in March of 2014, and I remember the 4 pieces well. The first one is Deer in Winter, which was basically a deer standing next to a dead tree, which comes to represent life in the midst of in the dead of winter. The second one consists of a father pushing his son on a tricycle, trying to push him forward, which signals a transition from one part of his childhood to another, and which signals the transition of one part of life to another. The third one is called Runners Up, and it focuses on the runner finishing in second place, but he is happy because he's glad he participated, and no, he did not get participation trophies. He was just there to have fun. And the fourth one is the Old Veteran. It's basically an old person with his dog, and he is in his old World War II uniforms, and it goes to show that this person long ago fought for freedom, and you should always be thankful for our veterans, no matter what happens. Anyways, a few months after that, I started to make my areas on Main Street. This is a good area. This is like a good perspective of Main Street, well, watercolor-wise anyway. Mm-hmm. And I met people like this, mainly bartenders, however, other business owners, and ranging such as owner of bookstores, owners of a framing shop like this nice young lady over here.
Young, he said young, wasn't that sweet?
And among other things.
And Justin at the lounge.
Oh yeah, I met this. I'll just mention it briefly. I met this one guy, this one bartender on Main Street. He offered to let me display my artwork all over Main Street, and I never looked back. And okay, I had all these but all of my artwork has stemmed with a bunch of fascinations in my life. For example, my first fascination outside of art was weather. I had a real interest in weather because I was terrified of thunder and lightning, thunderstorms, if you will, and later earthquakes. I would always watch for what. When you ask a 14, 15-year-old what they did as a kid, you would often get the answer of them playing video games and all that. You know what I did? I watched the Weather Channel and all that stuff. My next fascination was with history. I have a real fascination with history, especially American history. Have a look yourselves. Yes. This recognize anyone?
Abraham Lincoln.
Not supposed to give it away, but yeah, it was Abraham Lincoln. Yes, it was Abraham Lincoln. He was a great American leader. Never mind the president. The great he led us throughout that tumultuous time in the Civil War and all that stuff. And it is stuff like that that I'm very fascinated with. How the history of America, if you will, has taken a hold of us in today's society, and it's still significant in today's society, if you will. Oh, of course. I apologize. I didn't mean to be rude. Here you go. I apologize. I forget to.
I just wanted to see him up close.
Okay. All right. I'll just pass them one at a time. My next.
Excuse me.
Anyways, my next fascination was my next fascination was with geography. This is in case you don't know what this is, it's a map of Missouri. But anyways, it's established in 1820, and it is basically as middle of America as you can get. It's the northernmost of southern states, the southernmost of northern states. The eastern, it can be, St. Louis is the westernmost eastern city, and Kansas City is the easternmost western city. So it's about as in the center of America as you can possibly get. I also, what I like to do for fun is I like to go bike riding. Every day I would ride about 2.5 miles from my house just to get to Main Street. It's always a tedious ride, but a fun ride nonetheless. And if we have these run, anyways, without any further ado, here are also my greeting cards. One of the perhaps out of all the mediums, out of all the stuff that I've ever done, perhaps the ones that has made the most impact out of me and everyone else is greeting cards. And here is an example of these. I have better examples over here.
You're doing great, Ben.
And these ones here are, I have 10 pages worth of greeting cards, 10 each, 10 greeting cards each in 10 pages. I will show these around with you, and and feel free to pass this all around. Here, the different each greeting card is different, but it has the same underlying message. First, the message inside, in each greeting card there's a message inside, and I always write it in purple. And the back of a greeting card, I always write my name on it and nothing else. I always write it in orange. The reason why I'm fascinated with doing that is, when I was a kid, I took this picture and in an orange shirt, and I saw it look good in that orange shirt, and so I decided to always write my name in orange, if you will.
Oh.
So it is wonderful. So it's a cool example, but there are several types of greeting cards that I always do. These are birthday cards, holiday cards, including Christmas cards, thank you cards, get well cards, sympathy cards, wedding cards, baby cards, congratulations, among other things. The birthday cards, out of all of them, are the ones I always do the most, because each person is different, and each person has their own individual tastes and maybe their own colors, if you will. For example, they can range from the smiley face here. Yes, I bought different mediums. This is acrylic.
That's cute.
Out of all the pictures, this is perhaps my most famous acrylic painting, because everyone wants a piece of this picture.
So what inspired that one?
What inspired me to make this picture is, I love the smiley face and I love how flexible it was, so I wanted to make it flexibly silly, which sort of rhymes. I also have these as well.
Wow, that's acrylics.
That's acrylics. I have this is that's a black and white face, and that's perhaps my second most famous painting. But anyways, back to the greeting cards. I also I also draw some balloon cards. They are in different colors, and the way I do it is I put the balloons down, then the happy birthday ones in the form of the clouds.
Yeah.
And I always do it in a big blue sky, because it's much happier that way. Next up is I always say happy birthday to both genders. For example, for the guys, it can be a bow tie and all that stuff to make it more business-like. For the ladies, it can be a little girl or a heart-shaped thing and all that stuff. There's all kinds of there's birthday, and of course there's birthday cakes and cupcakes and birthday candles and maybe the occasional animal or two. Next up, we have holiday cards. Christmas cards are the ones that got me started with making greeting cards. About 9 years ago, I started doing these Christmas cards, these holiday cards. I didn't bring them with me, but I have great examples of those in those up above, and I will try to show more as best as I can. One day somebody asked me, somebody that I was associated with asked me to do some greeting cards, and I obliged, and so they were a hit, and so I decided to create them annually. Then one day I decided to do, which was the beginning of a long relationship with greeting cards.
Yeah.
One day one day I decided to do birthday cards along with every other greeting card you could think of, and it was and since then I have not looked back. There's other kinds of holidays as well. The New Year's ones, definitely the birthday hats and the fireworks and stuff. That's who doesn't love that? The Valentine cards, obviously they come from the heart. They come from they're always big red and pink and white hearts and all that good stuff. St. Patrick's Day, perhaps the best holiday to drink, if you will, but I can't go that far. And other than that, it's based off. It was based off of the Irish missionary that was around in the 4th century, converting the pagan Irish to Christianity, and that's what they were based off of. And the shamrock is pretty much the St. Patrick's Day theme. Easter is the egg. The egg and the Easter bunny. Yeah. But it's also a more significant time when Jesus died for your sins and all that. But what am I saying here? You didn't see me do that. But don't worry, I'm almost. But don't worry, I'm getting to it. 4th of July is all about the USA. It's 240 years ago, 240 some years ago, we our colonial friends decided to revolt against the British, and they fought back against the tyranny and formed a nation that would be the greatest in the history of mankind, the United States of America. It was that's why we all celebrate the 4th of July. I always have it with the Uncle Sam hat and the fireworks. That's always a festive time. Halloween is Halloween is probably the other holiday that we celebrate. It's basically the pumpkin with orange and brown colored themes in it. There's also the ghost that can deliver you quite a scare. Skeletons that'll freak you out. Witches that could crash into poles. And goblins that go trick or treating. That's a good example of it. Thanksgiving. It's important to be thankful for what you have on Thanksgiving. The Pilgrims came together and ate with the Indians on Thanksgiving in 1621. It was a very festive occasion, and it was a wonderful occasion before all that stuff happened. But that day is why we celebrate. We all come. Besides coming together and eating turkey, we must all. It's all about coming together and being thankful for what you have. Now on to
being thankful you're not a turkey.
Yeah, exactly. Be thankful you're not a turkey. On to the thank you cards. Now, what the thank you cards are, these are, of all of them, these are the ones I probably use the very least, because they show, but I do, well, I'm not going to say I don't use them, but these cards are meant to show gratitude and as a thanks to somebody for helping, them out or what have you. Perhaps my most prominent thank you card is the thank you card to our veterans. Like I said, you should always be thankful of our veterans. For veterans, so for they fight for our freedom and whatnot. So For that, I always do it in green. I always paint it in mostly green. For the uniform, it's usually a darker green or camouflage. For the background itself, it's mainly a greenish olive color, if you will. Get Wells cards. Now we get on to the sadder parts of stuff. Well, the next two subjects anyway. It is never good to see someone suffer, and it's never good to see someone sick. My most prominent example of a Get Well card is a teddy bear with his pajamas on. That is the most prominent example of it. Other examples can include a smiley face with a Band-Aid, and there's no place like home, like a house in the middle of nowhere, and another example would be a melting ice cream cone, but in a more whimsical way, of course. I try to make these greeting cards, of course, whimsical. You should always, when doing a Get Well card, try to be courteous of them. They suffered a lot, and for the background colors, it should be something that sort of sets the tone as a sort of a happier color, and as opposed to the grim subjects in the foreground and what have you. And now if we get to the sympathy. Sympathies are really sad. I make, out of all the greeting cards that I've made, the sympathy ones are the ones I probably make the second or third most, because something tragic always happens every now and then. And the notable example of it would be a heart and a sympathy on it, telling them, I'm sorry about your struggles or whatnot, but it's never fun to deal with death. And notable examples of that would be, I'm sorry for your loss, with the message on it. The notable examples would include a flower and maybe a bluebird flying higher than ever before. That signals that the person you know who has passed away is in a better place, and you should always be and it teaches it. And if one thing I could teach you is that you should always appreciate every minute of your life, you should always appreciate those that are around you, because you never know if it's going to be your last day or not. You always, we all die eventually, but it's definitely worth living, and you should always appreciate those around you. I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. Now we get to the happier parts of it. Congratulations. Now, congratulations are reserved for promotional things. They, whether, for example, somebody might be promoted to a new position in their job, a higher position, and it's always a wonderful thing for them for it to happen. There's another example. I'm sorry. Sorry. Another example would be if someone does a great job. If someone does a great job, or if somebody is moving on. It's an ever-changing world, and life around us is changing. And you got to And like I said, you got to appreciate every moment of it, but you also have to appreciate the happier parts of it, especially when you're moving up. It's a very festive feeling to be able to enjoy some of those things in life. And but it's always a wonderful thing to be moving up in life, and it's always a wonderful thing when something happens in your life it's pretty much life-changing, as long as it's good, of course. Now for one of those things is wedding cards. Yeah, I'm sure most of you are probably married and are probably tired of you, and do occasionally bicker with your husbands and wives every now and then. But I gotta tell you, it's always you have to admit, as much as you couldn't live with them, you cannot do so without them. And to get to get married is a wonderful occasion, no matter who you are. It's a union between two families. You are bound together in holy matrimony until death do you part. And now, another part of it is you get to enjoy the free cake and all that stuff. Sorry, I lost track. And now we get to the another earth-shattering moment of your life is when you have a baby. To be able to have a baby is perhaps the happiest moment of your life, whether it's a boy or a girl. It signals the start of a new family. It signals the wonderful start of a new family, and which means you get to see your children grow up just like yourselves, and hopefully they do grow up to be wonderful, productive citizens. And to celebrate the start of a family is a very festive occasion. And now we get to the other types of things. Basically, there's not much else to say about green cards. Enjoying means I do have an enjoy card, which means it's basically one of those special occasion cards where you give it to someone who is enjoying, who wants to enjoy them, who's basically traveling. For example, if he's traveling to, let's say, Paris, you would draw the Eiffel Tower. If it's in Mexico, you would draw the Aztec Temple. If it's in New York, you would draw the Statue of Liberty or something like that. Farewell cards. It's more bittersweet, but farewell cards should be a happy occasion. And it's like I said, you should always appreciate the moments that everyone has, and that includes moving on when the time is right. And my last type of green card we'll discuss is God Bless You. It's the God Bless You cards. It's basically Christian themed. Even though, yes, I do believe in God, but I'm not practicing one. But otherwise, it's fun. Otherwise, it's a good one. It's a good one to have for anything. And may God bless you all. But I'm not done yet. All right, now we get to the demonstration parts. This is the moment you've been waiting for. Son, I always do these wonderful greeting. I always do this wonderful greeting cards for all of them, and all these wonderful occasional cards for all of them. And now I'm gonna demonstrate all of them. Okay. All right, now what I'm gonna do is a congratulatory card for this man right here. He's doing an album with his band, and hopefully it's a good one for him. Without any further ado, but you never know what you may find. When I got started, I didn't have a clue about color theory, and now I can't get enough of that. I can't get enough of these colors. These colors are addictive to draw with, and I wouldn't have had any other way. I don't know, what else was I gonna say? Color mixing. All right. When doing color mixing, there are a few things you should keep in mind. Number one, always keep an eye on the whiteness of your pictures. Now basically the whole picture starts out white, all right? But when you use watercolors, if you want to keep like a white area, if you want, be very careful not to cover it and such, or be careful not to accidentally do it, not to accidentally spill some paint, if you will, because it will not come off. Unlike other mediums such as acrylics or pastels, though you will never be able to get them white again unless you use those kind of mediums. You will never get them off. So I do recommend you practice every now and then. That is another thing I need to. That's another thing I should. That's another thing I should discuss. Practice. I practice every day. I draw every day. I practice every day, and that is what it takes. When you practice something, when you are passionate about something, you gotta practice at it. You gotta be able to put in all the hard work at it. I know I should know, because I would every now and then I would stay up until 2 or 3 in the morning to complete one picture because it's due the next day and all that stuff. So that's the kind of work ethic I have. You gotta always work hard when you do all this stuff, and so it's now anyways. Another thing you should keep in mind is the dark background. When you're doing a dark background, such as a dark blue or dark green, you gotta be careful that you do. You gotta be careful that you do not. You gotta be careful about the lighter parts. You gotta be careful that you don't accidentally let it overtake it if you don't want to. They are nearly impossible. It's nearly impossible to reverse it. So my advice to you would be to try to play safe, be careful with them, and try not to make any mistakes. As for the color mixing itself, well, color mixing is not equal. All color mixing is not equal. All of these colors and all of these brands have different colors. They have different watercolors. They have different color pencils. They have different acrylics. They have all these different pictures. But that's what makes it so good. That's what makes art so fun. Is that you can experiment with these different kind of colors, and you can always come out with a wonderful. You can always come out with a result that you would like to have. But anyways, I'm almost done with. Well, not exactly almost done, but I'm getting pretty close. But yeah, this is a congratulatory piece, and I hope you appreciate this, Curtis.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna hang in the studio.
Okay. Well, and now we get to the painting. Watch and be amazed. Now I did. See that? See that? That is the magic watercolor pencils. Shoot.
That's usually not vertical, is it?
It's a very loose medium. You when doing watercolors, you gotta be careful that they don't go in an area you don't want it to go to, unless that is your intention. So now,
You normally work horizontally, don't you, Ben?
do I work horizontally?
Like on a flat surface?
This is a 12 by 12 piece. Next time I might next time in maybe like a year or two, I might demonstrate postcards. Next year, but anyways, all of these pieces, all this blank watercolor pieces you see before you, those are colored. Those are paper that I did out of much bigger pieces. These were 24 by 36 pieces. They're about as big as this table,
Wow.
and I cut them all out. Well, I cut them out in smaller pieces, and these are what I'm doing here is a 12 by 12 piece. What I do with postcards and other mediums, it's a 14 by 11 piece and 4-inch by 6 pieces anyway. So basically what I did is I cut out all the bigger pieces into small pieces to make it easier to work with, and so it's a one. But I will be getting into bigger pieces in the near future and all that stuff. I'm almost done. I'm sorry that I started a little bit, but I knew what I needed to say. But I knew exactly what I wanted to say. I knew I didn't have the correct words at first for what I wanted to say, but I'm just.
You did fine.
You did great.
I did. I'm glad you all enjoyed it. It's almost done. I'm very glad I could demonstrate this piece to you. It's almost ready. Hold on.
Doing a good job, Ben. Take
Thanks.
your time. You got at least 10-15 minutes if you want.
10-15 minutes.
Yeah.
Probably won't take that long because I don't know what else I want
Does
to
anybody
say.
have questions for Ben?
Yes.
Yes, I'm interested in buying his cards. Do I order them from you?
Let's see.
How much do you sell your cards for, Ben?
I sell these. The thing about me is, I believe art should be made for everybody. It shouldn't be made just for the wealthy, elite, and socialites, if you will. I believe it should be made for everybody. So I sell them for like I sell the green cards for like $5 each. If you want me to do a commission or want me to get make several green birthday cards or Christmas cards for you, I could do that as well. What are you interested in, ma'am?
A little bit of everything.
Oh, a little bit of everything. Okay.
Birthday cards mostly.
Could you be more specific?
There goes the rails.
I like your birthday card, the little bear on it.
Birthday card for little bear. Okay.
Cuddly bear.
I think you're talking about this one.
I hope your birthday makes you feel cuddly.
I think it's this one she's talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not cutting that one out.
There's a lot of them that are really good.
Oh, I love all of
We
that.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I do all these for the people of Main Street, and I do all this for a lot of you guys, or at least I try to. You see, I know a lot of people in my time, and it's not easy doing all this for all of you. So I'm glad. So I hope if I haven't reached to you yet, be patient, for I will get to you soon enough, and I will definitely deliver whatever stuff you want me to make and all that stuff.
A lot of times he does them custom for people in the moment. Like I had no idea he was going to do congratulations for something we were talking about on the right here. So there's a lot of times he's just meeting people conversation with someone, somebody mentioned somebody's expecting or somebody's having a birthday, he's already on. So
You know-
a lot of times he's doing it custom to the person. A lot of times it's very
Okay. Am I done yet? Okay.
Very good, Ben.
Stuff in mediums. Any other questions?
I have a couple questions.
Oh.
Well, I have a comment first.
How many?
One, you never see Ben. I mean, people talk about working artists. You never see Ben without his art and his materials to create art ever. I mean, like everywhere he goes, has it with him. So like, you know, like he's like probably one of the most dedicated artists we have in Northside. So
Yes, I have a.
You can see it, tell it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have a work ethic that sort of shines throughout a lot of St. Charles. I work hard for my work, and I work hard to try to get others to not get others. I work hard for people to have a good time, and to try to get whatever pieces that is needed to get some whatever is needed to get some people so they could enjoy it and all that stuff.
well, one final question for you then.
Okay.
Ben. What do you think is the most important thing about art that you would tell somebody who knew nothing about art?
The most important thing about art is experimentation. You should definitely experiment with all sorts of different stuff so that you would know what suits you the best. I guess if I have to say another thing, it would be that art is an adventure. It is an adventure you will never forget. It is a wonderful thing to be an artist, and it's also a God-given talent. You know, God has given us all sorts of abilities and talents and whatnot, and He obviously gave me the gift of being able to paint as good as fits, and be able to make all these greeting cards for people. It is both a God-given gift, but you also have to work at it. You also have to work at art. If you're that dedicated, if you are dedicated to your craft, you can do anything. Is that all?
That's perfect.
Ladies and
If you're
gentlemen,
dedicated to your craft.
Thank you for coming.
You can do anything. They've done a great job. Very good, man.
Focused in North St. Louis County, Northside Art Association is a nonprofit 501c3 arts organization that serves local artists through community exposure, networking, education, and peer interaction. Learn more about Northside Art Association at www.northsideartassociation.org.